Criticism against the new season of True Detective started right after it was announced that a new writer and director would lead season 4. Nick Pizzolatto, who created True Detective, would not take any creative part in what is called Night Country. Believing that a True Detective season without Nick would not really be a True Detective, especially if the show was entrusted to someone who only worked on Spanish soap operas, some fans stopped rooting for the new season even before a single picture was released from it. Leaving behind the fact that this response is problematic in and out of itself, this video will focus on all the things wrong with True Detective Night Country. Even though the new season is different in many aspects, does it deserve to have a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than True Detective Season 1? Let's begin the analysis. Before you come at me in the comments, I should tell you something. As you can understand from my breakdowns and theories about Season 4, I have been enjoying this season a lot. But that should also mean that I have a right to criticize aspects that I didn't like or thought could have been portrayed better. I love this season, but it has its weaknesses and problems, such as the opening theme. Since I didn't really follow the development stage of Night Country, I only started looking at audience comments right before the new season premiered. As soon as HBO revealed the opening title song for Night Country, a flood of hateful comments started pouring in, some rightful, some exaggerated. In the past 3 seasons, True Detective has always been praised for its choice of title tracks, especially in Season 1. But this time, the new season's choice of song was Billie Eilish's Bury a Friend. To be honest, even though the song fits into the eerie atmosphere of Season 4, it's indeed overused and highly popular. Using a popular track is not wrong, but it does decrease the impact of the opening credits, which used to have lesser-known songs when True Detective was concerned. The song was used in so many trailers that even people who don't listen to Billie Eilish must have heard it a lot. It was used in the Madame Web trailer, the trailer for Carnival Row, and Night Swim, and I'm not even mentioning the projects that use the song in their certain scenes and whatnot. Sometimes, but not always, you can tell a great show by its opening credits, and HBO has perfect examples with Game of Thrones, Succession, and more, but Night Country had 2 strikes against it from the start. Repeating tropes. Now, we can look at what actually is happening in Night Country. Watching the first 4 episodes, I can confidently say that the show is at its best when it focuses on the mystery rather than the lives of the characters, because when the characters' lives are concerned, the same tropes can be seen repeated over and over again. For example, in every episode so far, Danvers used Pete as her personal slave and Pete caved in despite his wife's apparent heartbreak. In every episode, this happens again and again. Right when Peter has to do something, Danvers gives him a new job. I get that it kind of shows Danvers' toxic patterns, but the same happens in other storylines as well. Leah and Danvers fight in every single episode, and it always ends up with Leah leaving the house or lying to Danvers about it. How long do we have to see the same thing happen to realize that they have a fucked up relationship? Until episode 4, and even in a part of episode 4, we saw that something kept happening with Jules and Navarro kept going to help or hug her. With Pete, again, you can always see him doing the legwork like there aren't any other cops in the whole town, and is usually the one who finds a break in the case. At the end of episode 1, he calls Danvers to tell her that Rose found the researchers in the ice. At the end of the second episode, he calls again to report that one of the researchers is missing from the ice. In the third episode, it's him who finds another break by successfully hacking into Anike's phone. In episode 4, it's Pete again who rings Danvers to tell her that some fishermen spotted someone near the dredge. Even though there are moments where our lead detectives, especially Danvers, find a new clue, Night Country is really unable to move the plot without the involvement of Pete, who does the work behind the scenes, which makes me think, who is the true detective in Season 4? The amount of supernatural elements. You can only explain some of the things that are happening in this season with reasoning or mental illness. It's obvious that Night Country is leaning on the supernatural and has increased this in the latest episodes, where Navarro starts to see people speaking to her from the realm of the dead, or in just traveling to her, and more. Overall, Night Country feels more like a mystery show instead of a detective show. Let's compare to the show's premiere season, where the lead detective saw hallucinations. Back then, the audience knew and was told that what Rust saw were hallucinations because of his drug use. But can you tell the same about Rose seeing Travis? The audience of Season 4 is constantly left confused by the supernatural elements, the visions, and the supposed hallucinations. But HBO is to be partially blamed for this. Apparently, when Issa Lopez first pitched this show to HBO, it was just something called Night Country. It didn't have anything to do with True Detective. But HBO wanted to shoehorn it into the True Detective universe, and that's why Issa Lopez later added the season 1 clues and connections to somehow make it fit into the True Detective universe. This explains why Night Country feels so different from the previous 3 seasons and why the connections to season 1 were deemed forced by many fans of the franchise. They were like an afterthought. I personally don't mind the supernatural elements that much, but it is true that I was surprised by how much supernatural would be in Night Country. I think I am now looking at season 4 as a separate show rather than thinking about it as part of the True Detective franchise, but I understand if not a lot of people can do the same. Other problems. I would also say the dialogue in season 4 is not on par with the previous seasons, and sometimes the show is too unserious, if you know what I mean. It's like the show has a mood problem. It cannot decide whether it wants to be scary or funny or maybe wants to achieve them all at the same time, but it doesn't work. Like, why would the police officers take selfies with the dead researchers, especially when you think about things like these rarely happen in the town they're living in? Is it using humor to cope with what's going on? Maybe that's the case, but what about having a conversation about parents as dead bodies on the ice stand right in front of you? Is this supposed to be normal or humorous? Why didn't no one care when it was revealed that the dead bodies were found by a woman who argued that her dead husband led her there? It was glossed over like it was nothing. Is all of this supposed to be a message about how no one cares about what's going around anymore? Are we that desensitized about horrible things that happen? Am I reaching? Overall, I do love the main mystery and the fact that it's always the night, and regardless of the poor dialogue, I love the main characters and the actors' performances. I'm curious about what's going to happen next and I enjoy the episodes as a whole, but I wanted to share my concerns anyway. Share if you agree or disagree in the comments below. I cannot wait to read your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to next season for more content like this. See you soon.